Okay, broadcast is live.
Yeah, okay, cool. We're on. So I'm hoping we can actually see live comments now. We'll see what happens. So anyway, I see that there are zero. It shows me how many people are viewing, by the way. So there's 0 views at the moment, which is cool. And now there's one.
We can chat.
Cool. So if you've just logged in, my name's Phil, and this is Nicolette, and we're gonna just be chatting to each other about pursuit of self-love. Um, I don't really have too much of an introduction to give. Nicolette also said that it can be more. There can be something magical about not giving too much of an introduction. I think I will say a little bit though, and just say that Nicolette is quite a keen organic farmer, and she's written a book called Forgiveness. And I find that awesome, by the way, because being the creative that I am, I've got a million ideas, and I've got some software called OneNote, and I've written so many ideas in OneNote, by the way, which could go into a book, but I just haven't done it. I've written almost like an autobiography about things that have happened in my life and the lessons that came with it. And then I've also written a kid's book, parts of a kid's book, little stories and little sections about Father Sky and Sister Moon and Mother Earth. And then I've written little, almost like angel cards for kids as well. And there are all these millions of scattered creative ideas in my OneNote, but there is no book and there is no cards and there is no nothing. So well done on actually completing that.
I think I did tell you, I'm a completer.
Yeah.
There's nothing that satisfies me more than a job finished. So I guess and there's a pro and a con to that, because life isn't a destination, it's a journey. But I'm, like most people, focused on the destination. So yeah,
Yeah, but it's a good thing because for me, there's a frustration in not completing. You know, I've got probably about 50 songs that I've written and maybe completed 5, and then all these ideas that I've written down for books and things, and they're all there, but nothing's completed. So there's frustration in that for me.
So, one of the things that helped me, I used to be a blogger and I've stopped writing now. I know I need to get writing sometime soon again, but I used to blog. And my one commitment was to write a blog, which was 500 odd words every week on a Monday. On a Monday, I'd write a letter to the world. Not that many people even responded. I don't know how many people read it, but I wrote and I wrote and I wrote and I wrote so much from my heart, and it was so good for my soul, because often I would just cry and cry afterwards. And that was the material for my book. So when I decided to write Forgiveness, I had every single chapter that I laid out. I did a map of what the journey to forgiveness was about. And the first 3 chapters are on love, the different types of love. And I just pulled from all my blogs. I had every blog was a chapter. And yes, I retweeted or rewrote it just to suit the book. But I had a wealth of material ready to throw into a book. So if you've been writing tomes of work, you can just put it together in no time. You could put it together.
Yeah, and what's been inspiring me now is, so I do a lot of work at schools, and there's a school here called Grayston Primary, and I'm doing a proposal for them to do a 10-week coaching program for their grade 6s and 7s to prepare them for high school. And I've just been looking at my old material, and I'm seeing like there's so many exercises I know that I can put into this workshop, and I'm rewriting it from the start because I get joy out of that. But there's so many stories I have as well from my life and from book ideas and from blog ideas that I can put in there, and it's almost like I could just copy and paste. But the thing is, everything is everywhere. It's almost like I I guess it's one of the frustrations I have, is that I feel quite scattered. I know I'm creative, but I've got certain things stored on OneNote, certain things stored on my computer, other things stored in the cloud, and other things stored on an external hard drive. And some things I don't even know where they are, and some things are printed, and it's just like, it's so frustrating, I guess, for me. And it would be so nice to have everything put in one place. Like, you can hold up your book and say, look, everything's in this book. It would be nice to be able to do that.
Well,
Wow.
I hear a book coming. I think it's coming. Yeah.
And I guess
Yeah.
what I've always wanted is to have someone, hire someone that could do all of that for me, but I don't know if that's even possible. And I think that's
No,
almost a way of avoiding the responsibility.
exactly. The thing is, writing a book. I went on a book writing workshop with an author. I'm just trying to think what her name is now. My Life is an Apple Tree by the
Colleen
motivational speaker.
Page.
Colleen Joy Page. That's right. Thank you.
I know her well.
And I went on her one of her author writing escapades, and she just kick-started me into action. She just said, you have to sit down and you have to commit and you have to write every single day. You cannot leave one day. It's like putting a book down. If you put it down for 3 days, you have to reread the whole book to the point where you left off so that you can carry on. So you just have to commit to writing for an hour or two every single day. And that's what I did for, I don't know how many months it took me. I wrote for 3 months. It took a gap for a couple of months, and then I got back to it. So it probably took me 9 months to write the book. And then I thought, now you hand it over to an editor. I found an editor. Okay, you hand it over like you're handing in your English assignment to your teacher, and she'll go tick, tick, cross, cross, fix, fix, whatever, and give it back. Well, that was probably another 6-month process where I hate your first chapter. What about this? Can we take that chapter, make that the first one? And she rehashed everything around and and it was a journey, and probably one of the most exciting journeys I've ever been on. Better than therapy, or it's
Really?
quite incredible. Yeah, someone else gets in your head and scrambles, and yeah, it was a very cathartic process. Very. So I recommend it.
How does it feel to have your own book, and what do you do with it? And does it change your life? I mean,
Well, it's
once you
interesting. It's very interesting. When I chose to write about forgiveness, one of my very close friends, a singer-songwriter, Nia Nell, said to me at the time, because she'd written a book that year as well with a publisher. She said, Nicolette, why forgiveness? Don't write about forgiveness. Write about love. I actually wanted to call my book Love, something about love, because it's more romantic, and I think it'll draw more people. Forgiveness, a lot of people have, that's for other people, not me. Other people need to forgive me, or no, I don't need to forgive it. People always point the finger. And she said, be careful what you write about, because you'll be tested. And it's quite interesting that I wrote this book because probably quite egotistically, I thought I was going to save the world and heal the world from unforgiveness. And my mom died with a lot of unresolved issues, and I really wanted to prevent anyone else dying of cancer with a lot of heart issues. And it wasn't long after I went to Vipassana for the first time and got that message that I needed to go home and get divorced, and I couldn't carry on in a marriage that was over. And then I got a cancer diagnosis, and then I left and moved in with my dad in Cape Town. And then the next year I got attacked on my mountain bike, and my ankle was shattered, and I've basically been able to walk my talk. I've been able to see that everything I always said I would do if I got cancer, that I wouldn't do anything medical, I'd heal myself, and everything that I said about I can always forgive. I found it easy to forgive my attackers. I found it actually more difficult to forgive my own father for for other stuff. We're crazy beings, but often the people closest to us in our family are the ones we struggle with relationship-wise.
So do you feel like you attracted these situations into your life so that you could forgive them?
I almost do. It was quite weird. The day that I was going cycling around the Rondebosch Common, I was doing a mantra. As I forgive, set a forgiveness into the world, by my forgiveness, I raise the consciousness of all other beings. I was cycling round and round doing this sort of mantra of, the world is healed through my forgiveness. If I forgive, others are forgiven and are given permission to forgive too. And and then the next thing I was lying with a completely shattered ankle on the side of the road, crawling into the road to wave down a car. And I never, with all the surgery and all the damage, I've never had issues about those guys who probably sold my bike for 50 Rand for who knows. It was an opportunity. I was just like a buck being preyed on by the hyenas or whatever you want to call it. So
these guys came and attacked you and took your bike, and your ankle got shattered in the process.
That's it. Yeah. So.
And you were able to forgive them.
Yeah, I find when I read my book again, actually somebody at Facebook posted something, a blog that I wrote 5 years ago, and I read it now earlier today, and I thought, oh my word, did I really write that? Or was I just the channeler? Was I just the messenger? It's quite amazing when I read this book and I dip into it. It's like I'm reading somebody else's writing. It's quite bizarre. It's quite humbling. Yeah. Wow. So it was almost like my ex-partner read the book, and he said to me, it was after the attack and after the cancer diagnosis, and he said, it's almost like your book was prophetic. And it's quite interesting that Neonel's words came back to remind me that everything that I wrote was tested. I had to go through it and journey it and prove to myself that I can live by the word, by what I've spoken,
And I guess the thing is, if you don't forgive someone, then you're holding on to poison, right? I mean, it's in your energy field, it's on your mind. You're walking around thinking, oh, this person's such a dick, or this person was so horrible for doing X, Y, and Z, that it's like you're actually doing yourself damage, right? So when you're saying forgiveness, it's almost, that's one of the steps to self-love, I would imagine.
Absolutely. So I believe our only purpose that we are here is because of our pursuit of self-love. And the only way we can see if we are acting in that resonance is by the act of forgiveness. So if somebody acts unconsciously to us, are we able to love, or do we respond in a reactive way and in a poisonous way, in hatred and anger and seeking, retribution? So our forgiveness is merely it's offering us a chance to see for ourselves what the inner condition is, what we hold in our hearts.
So I want to explore self-love a little bit more with you, because it's a topic that I think is spoken about so much. People often saying, learn to love yourself and love yourself. And, that is one of the most important things you can do. But I think it's quite difficult for people to actually know what that really means, and, what are steps that we can take to love ourselves.
Well, I kind of think that self-love is a feeling of absolute acceptance in the now of whatever the status quo. So it's not as who wrote The Power of Now? Not Deepak Chopra. Eckhart Tolle, yeah. he said it's neither loving nor hating yourself. It's a state of inner contentment. It's just of being. I think if I could say, if we go back to Vipassana, it's a state between the past and the future where you are not shunning your past. You're not pulling away from or trying to rid yourself of stuff that you consider bad or detrimental to yourself. So not hating and not, and also not yearning after in the future, completely besotted about some addiction or craving. So what were the Vipassana was craving or pushing aside? Yeah, detesting or hating. So when you're hating or detesting, you're living in the past and you can't be content or happy. And when you're focused on future, what I don't have and what I want, coveting what other people have got, possessions, I don't know, addictions, whether that's drugs, sex, pharmaceutical drugs, whatever, sugar, food, all of these things are taking you away from the now. And why do we run away from the now? Because we're not comfortable in this space, because we haven't made friends with our spiritual center, and we feel lonely and alone. So a lot of, I think, and I might be wrong, I think that self-love is this comfort that you get when you make peace and embody your spiritual self. When your spiritual self sits.
And I know it can be very difficult, especially when being in silence can bring up a lot of pain and a lot of frustration. I mean, you think about people today, and I know I do it myself. I'll be lying in bed and I'll be like, well, what am I doing? I'm not being productive. I'm wasting my time. I'm just lying here. Let me do something. Let me fix my website, or let me read a book, or like almost this feeling that I need to be busy. Otherwise, I'm not productive. And in some ways, I guess that's counterproductive because we're not sitting with ourselves. We're not sitting in the silence. We're not listening to the pain, which is really just being honest and authentic with ourselves, is it not?
Yeah, and I'm as guilty as anyone else of not sitting in the silence enough, not at all.
Sure.
It's much more comfortable for us to always be busy, and it's very difficult to empty out. But one of the things that is being highlighted for me now with Ubuntu Lab, which I'm workshopping and working through, is the greatest inventions and the greatest discoveries come from boredom, from silence, from quietness. And the one thing that we are being taught is to listen, to stop, to silence this tongue and to step back and observe. And it's when you stop talking and stop thinking that you can actually, you can read the signs, you can sense what's going on within, you can, I know I'm guilty with emotions. I have my whole life avoided emotions. And so I'm so very good at it. And also as an ex-ballet dancer, I'm so good at wearing the mask, the happy people, happy, entertaining mask. But I don't even know what I'm feeling. And I think that we wear it so well and that we put on this happy mask so well that it becomes go in and to actually address that there are feelings of sadness or depression, or what am I feeling? This angst, this, what is it? And yeah, it's easier to just go to the shopping mall or go and have drinks and meet a friend at the pub.
Yes.
It's running away.
Yes. And I guess it's also a balance because, that stuff can also be enjoyable. And,
Oh, of
you want to
course.
enjoy life too. So it's a bit of both. So I wanted to ask you, who was the most difficult person to forgive for you?
For me, it was my father, and I love him. I love him unconditionally, but it was it was a thing that after my attack, I'd been working on A Course of Miracles. I don't know if you know A Course of
Book.
Miracles.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was working through that, 365 days of that. And
Wow.
it's pretty much, sorry?
Did you do all 365 days?
Yes.
Yeah,
And when I commit to something, I commit. And a lot of it was Jesus's philosophies or what his teachings were. And it's people who I believe under the Spirit, Holy Spirit, whatever, have brought out their interpretation of what they reckon Jesus meant by a lot of his teachings. And
yes.
so a lot of the work and the manifestations that I was doing for that whole year, the year that I was attacked, was about forgiveness and love, self-love. And it was basically saying that you and me, I am the Son of God. I am the light of the world. As I forgive, everyone else is forgiven. It is not being egotistical or self-righteous, saying, I am the one and only. It's saying we are all the sonship of God. We are all this universal love. And that we are all connected to this power. We all have spirituality within us. It's our natural inheritance, and we all have the ability to heal. And when I was attacked, my father, who is a reborn Christian, used that moment of vulnerability when I was at my lowest. I had double vision. I couldn't see. The cancer was in my eye, and I thought I was going blind. And I now had a broken bones, and I couldn't do anything for myself. And he came and he said to me that he thought that I, in my self-righteous, stubborn prick of a way, I was being punished by God, and that's why I was attacked. And I was heartbroken. And I sent him a WhatsApp the next day saying that I was finding it easier to love and forgive my attackers than I was my own father, for the heartless and uncompassionate things that he said to his daughter. So he went to his church, and his pastor crapped on him and said, how could you say such heartless things? And it's not your space to judge any other human beings. That's God's space. Anyway, he apologized, and I said, Dad, I forgive you, but just know this. It's going to take me a long time, because they are layers to forgiveness. I can do the lip service, and I'm doing it right now. I forgive you. No problem. I can say that. That's easy stuff. But just know that I'm going to sit with this, because this is big stuff and deep stuff. And it would be shallow to just say, forgive you. It's all done. Gone. Dusted. So that was quite a journey. And I had my... And like I say, moving home with your father in your 50s it's not an easy thing ever. I remember Eckhart Tolle saying, if you think you are enlightened, just go and stay with your parents for 2 weeks.
I'm currently staying with my mom, so I know what that's like. But I hear what you're saying about forgiveness having layers. It's almost like there's so many layers to so many things. When my ex-girlfriend and my old best mates hooked up with each other about 3 years ago, behind my back, I wanted to kill someone. I was so angry, and I actually wanted to hit my mate. And then it took a while before I got to a space of actually, everything is perfect, and what happened was okay, and I could see that there were benefits to me not being with my ex, and I moved quite far past that. But I can see that I went through certain layers, and I still don't think that my relationship with my old best mates will ever be the same again. I don't think that we're ever going to be chummies. Like, he's not going to come to my house and have tea and we're going to hang out and love it. And if we do hang out, it might be a little bit awkward. Like, I have seen him and we have gone for coffee. So in those moments, it's sort of like, hey, how's it? And it's friendly. And we've both moved on, but it still isn't the same. And I think it not being the same is just part of the process, you know. And in terms of the forgiveness, I don't know how many layers deep this forgiveness goes, you know. I mean, I feel like I've forgiven, but I don't know if I've fully forgiven, if that makes any sense.
I'd say that if the person's name comes up, what is the feeling that comes up? Is there feeling arising in you? Is your heart starting to close? Are you constricting? Or do you feel like you're talking neutrally, talking about somebody without any?
There's definitely a constriction when I think of them. Yeah.
So any relationship, it doesn't matter. As time passes, relationships never stay the same. They're not fixed.
Sure.
So even a husband, a wife, you can journey 20 hours, married 26 and a half years. Your relationship changes into different layers and different levels all the time. And little hurts and little woundings and little fixings are like the pot that's been broken a couple of times and been glued back together, and other pieces have been chipped away. And I mean, that's life. That's the stuff of us. And that actually gives us more juicy bits and more interesting stuff that makes us who we are. We are much more interesting people having got the bruises and the broken bones and having gone through heartbreak.
It's so much more real, isn't it?
It makes us deeper. If I think about myself before, I don't know, I watch YouTube videos of myself teaching with my peroxided blonde hair, and I go, wow, I was a bit shallow, a lot shallower then. I hadn't had all these life journeys to really see if I can live up to the truth that I'm professing and kind of preaching out there. Is that who I am? Well, I'm wiser and a lot more wrinkles and gray hair, and I think I've journeyed a lot to self-love, and I don't think we ever arrive at a point where we can turn around and say, you know what, I've got it, I've arrived, because I think that's the day we snuff it and die and leave this place. I think that we just keep mastering.
I'd like to share some things that I've been doing to show myself love recently. I actually feel like I've gone through a bit of a midlife crisis, to be honest, in the last, say, 2 months, which is when my ex and I broke up. I was actually living with her. We lived together, and it just became too much. I honestly felt like we were put in each other's lives for a very powerful reason. There was so much synchronicity, there was so much love, and it was such a beautiful relationship, but it just sort of ended and had to end, and I felt trapped, and I felt like I couldn't be free living with her and being in her presence. And then I just went through this massive just felt like a midlife crisis, even at the age of 34. And I dropped my business. I lost interest in my work at schools and coaching kids, and I stopped seeing friends that I'd been seeing for many years, and I just went into the space of solitude and just almost hiding at home. And it's been one of the most incredible journeys for me, because in that journey, I guess it feels like I've got a clean slate and I'm restarting life, and I feel powerful. I feel excited. I feel like there's things ahead of me that are actually exciting me, and it's made me realize that, I've built this awesome business, this kids coaching business, and it's done me well, and it's paid my bills for many years and all of that. But it feels like I built all of that based on a strategy, on a mental thing where I've said, right, there isn't much competition in this area, so I'm going to market myself in this area, and awesome, I'm going to hit the market. Boom, my business did really well. But now it feels like I'm in a space where I'm choosing to build from inside out and not outside in. So I'm not saying, what does the market need? Let me build a website and let me search on Google for what people are searching for so I can be clever and have a strategy. It's more like, what does Phil want to express? What's coming through Phil? And how can I express that in the world? Now, one of the things that's happened to me is in the last 9 months, I've had something called hives, which has been one of the most frustrating things that I've ever experienced. And what would happen is I'd go to bed and I would get almost like mosquito bites, but bumps all over my body. And it would be in random places on my back or on my face or on my arms. And it would be this just like extreme itching. And it became really bad. I went to lots of doctors and I got lots of medications and different opinions, and it just started driving me nuts. And recently, this is so strange, but I was with my ex about a month ago, and we went to a nature reserve here called Moederfontein Nature Reserve. And we were sitting down, and it's just beautiful, big, beautiful nature reserve. And there was a few trees, and a big lake in front of me. And it's almost as if this tree was talking to me. It wasn't talking, but it just made its presence known. I just kept noticing this tree. And what was going on in my head is the energy of this tree. It's almost like I just saw this thing as something that's sucking nutrients from the earth and pulling the nutrients up into itself and then pushing itself up into the sky, growing itself outwards and pulling natural energies from the earth. And it was just so, I don't know, it was just an image in my head that was so strong. And the more I thought about it, the more I realized, like, I'm eating a lot of shit, you know, and I'm putting a lot of bad stuff in my body. And if I look at the tree as an example, it's just taking plant-based, what's of the earth and sucking that into itself and becoming its best self. And I thought, that's what I've got to do, is just eat natural. So in terms of our conversation on self-love, that was the one step I've done, to just eat natural, which means no sugar. I mean, if you want to keep it simple, it's no sugar, no gluten, no dairy. Those are the three things that I've really stepped away from. And for the last week, I've had no hives. I didn't think they were ever going to go, because I've looked online and I've joined Facebook groups of people with hives, and they're all like, yeah, it doesn't go away. And if you've had it for this amount of time, it's there forever. And now I've been free of it for a week, which to me has been
that's awesome.
A really incredible thing. So I guess in terms of what I've been doing for myself, in terms of self-love, is just eating a clean diet, number one. I've got a huge craving for sweet stuff. But I will do, like, I'll make a healthy dessert out of either dates or bananas or honey, or mix a couple of things together. Then I'll also go to gym every day. The person that helped me understand that was my mom, actually. She wakes up every morning. There's no getting past it. She's going to go to gym, and if you in a way, she'll just walk past you and make sure she's there. So that was
yes, awesome. Yeah.
Well, and the other thing was not to be so hard on myself, to look at myself and say, look, I'm not working right now. I'm not making much money. I'm staying at home with my mom. I'm feeling a little bit childish, a little bit like I'm dependent. But at the same time, instead of being hard on myself and saying, you know what, you need to get up and you need to work and you need to be a man and you need to be independent and all that sort of stuff that I would normally say, I'm just saying, you know what, for now, this is where you're at and this is working. And it's given me this freedom within myself, just feeling free, and just, I guess it's been allowing me to open up from the inside a little bit more, and notice my dreams and notice my intuition and notice, just be more aware of whatever's happening around me.
It's awesome. It sounds like the nurturer is coming out as well. I love that you're giving yourself permission to self-nurture, permission to be kind to you, and permission to be gentle and patient and not have to rush around.
I think you say that.
Burning. Sorry?
It's interesting you say that, because I felt unnurtured for most of my life. You know, from a young age, I lived with my father, so I didn't have my mother there, so I didn't have that motherly figure to nurture me. So I didn't know what nurturing really was. My dad's a fun guy, not a fun guy, but he's an awesome dude. But there was no like cuddling or hugging or nurturing love. So I guess I never really had that growing up, and it was a strategy that I developed growing up, was to make friends with so many people and have deep relationships with people so that I could get that depth. But now be giving that to myself feels really important and really awesome. It's so nice and I'm glad you recognize that in me. That feels really good for someone else to recognize that, actually.
Yeah, I think so, and I think it's a thing that all of us need to really embrace, because if we can't love ourselves in a nurturing, kind, um, soft, feminine way, then how do we ever anticipate loving another person like that? I used to use this example in my teaching of the importance of unconditional love. And I would say, because I think that we have screwed up the text in the Bible where it says, love your brother as you love yourself. And
Mm,
listen, it said, as you love yourself. It is
mm,
right to love yourself. You
yeah.
have to love yourself before you can love another. And if you
Mm,
don't even have a knowing or a feeling or ability to nurture yourself, if you can't love yourself, you
mm,
cannot love another. And so I used to use this example of, let's say somebody, we're standing in a hall here, and some man walks in and he has this heart attack or whatever, and he falls down, and we don't know now, is he breathing or not? So we get down and we ascertain he's not breathing. Okay, maybe he does or doesn't have a pulse. And I always say to the audience, so what do we do next? And people will say, phone 911,
yeah.
give him, pump his heart, or do that, like they
Sure.
sort of, and I'm saying, okay, we don't have time, he's not breathing. What do we do? What do we do? And they look at me and I go, we do this. Okay, so I say to them, now
Yeah.
you give artificial respiration to someone who hasn't got any air. Can you, if you've given everything away and you've got nothing to give?
Mm,
Try and blow into that person's mouth. You first have
breathe
to
first.
ingest oxygen
Mm,
before you can give it away. And same with love. You
yeah.
have to ingest
Wow.
love to overflowing so that you are full of love before you can give it to another. And so that was
Love.
always my example of we have a duty to love ourselves
Mm,
and really love ourselves without judgment and continual derision and criticism.
mm.
Because what is this mind saying when in the quiet, when you shut out yourself away from the noise and the crowd? What is it that this recurring voice in your head? I'm a loser. I'm no good. I'll amount to nothing. Oh gosh, this business I'm trying, it's going to fail. I know it. Or what is, how do we speak about ourselves? We might put on this face, this brave face, and an act to the world, but in the silence, what are we saying and feeling within?
That's such a
Because
good point. And is there a way that we can train ourselves to change that speech or that internal dialogue? One way that I would imagine, that I think is probably a very good way to do it, is to have a vision for what you want out of life, so that you can. So if you're sitting there saying, look, I am such a loser, but you've got a vision to, I don't know, I'm just sort of making something up, but you got some vision as to where you want to be. You can say, okay, at least I know where I'm going. At least I've got something to hold on to.
I think that's doing. So that's quite a lot in the ego. Ego sits very close to the spiritual. Those two, our higher self and our ego, are like neck and neck. They sit so close to each other. But ego is the doer. It's the masculine side of us. We must
Mm,
fix, we must do, we can create our destiny by changing our thoughts. We can manifest, that's the doer.
Mm.
But the self-love, that self is connecting. It's almost like the synapses in the brain when these little electrodes, when they connect, zing, when the connection's made. I think it's when we meet our creator, our self. It's almost like our higher self connecting with our lower child self. And we make, I don't know, there was a meditation that I would lead people to do, like close your eyes and feel into what's going around you and just feel in the silence. What can you feel? Can you feel with your eyes closed if you're male or female? Without touching your body or your genitals, can you know what sex you are? Can you know what age you are? With your eyes closed, can you feel what you look like? What color your skin is? Who are you? Can you, what distinguishes me from you? And when you shut out what the physical eyes, the inputs, that the physicality of this world is showing you, when you shut out to that, you have absolutely no reference except the heart reference, the heart space. All you can do is connect. And in that moment, and after a 10-minute meditation, when I ask people to open their eyes and then say how they felt, and then we'll question and say, did you feel threatened in that space? What did you feel there? And most people will say this absolute resounding peace, this place of total acceptance. There was no judgment there. And so I believe that the only place that we can connect with self-love is in the quiet, if we're brave enough to shut out the busyness of the world and actually spend half an hour just not trying to do anything, not trying to stop the world, just sit with oneself and feel. Just feel what sits there. And honestly, I don't think any of us can say, as you sit there with no distraction, that you can feel hatred towards self. Because in this encapsulated space, you no longer have reference. You're not a South African. You're not a white-skinned person. You're not a male or female. You're not a perpetrator of this crime or that. Your history's gone. All you are is spirit. And I think peace, love, that's basically it. I think we find it. We find it by journeying alone, going for long walks in nature alone. But it's not something that we strive for. We want to find a partner, someone to be codependent with, somebody to go with us. And
it's so nice to have a partner, isn't it?
It
Someone
is.
of the opposite sex that you're attracted to and you can, chat to.
But as long as it's not an addiction.
Yes. Yeah.
So I think the prerequisite to having a relationship is get your driver's license to yourself first. And when you can drive, then you can go and find the Ferrari or the whatever. But we need to get into the driver's seat of ourselves. And so I honestly believe you're not going to be any good to anyone in relationship until you have mastered self-love. You're not.
Yeah.
If you don't know who you are, then you're expecting your partner or your spouse to fulfill you. If you are not happy, you are going to lean on them to make you happy. If you are not self-loved, you're going to expect them to love you. If you don't have self-confidence and self-esteem, you're going to continually be searching for them to give you positive affirmations to make you feel confident and boost your self-esteem. It's our duty to do all that.
It's
We have
almost
to.
the thing that all of humanity needs to learn. Maybe not all, but at least 99% of people that I meet have the biggest struggles are in their relationships, you know. And why is that? Because that person is reflecting their deepest wounds. And I think in relationships, there can be so much projection. You know, I know with my ex, I still love her so deeply, and I think the feeling is mutual. But there were so many times where she would do something and it would just drive me completely nuts. And I was like, you know what, fuck you, you know, just driving me completely mad here. I don't have time for you. So like, I'm gonna go. And then it's like, then it becomes this reactionary thing, and then it's, you know, it can be so easy to be rude or to be inappropriate or to run away or to go into some sort of reaction. And I guess that's part of the reasons why we have made a break, so that we can find ourselves, and hopefully in finding ourselves, the next step will just naturally unfold, whether that means going back together or being with another person. I guess that isn't the point. It's just about, like you say, learning to love ourselves. But even that, it's like you just said now, take half an hour to sit and be quiet with yourself. But we have 24 hours in a day, so surely we should be spending more than half an hour if this is such an
Exactly.
important thing.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, our days are so fast paced that people are like, yo, just do 5 minutes or 10-minute meditation. But it's like, okay, so you're not really that committed to this process. But then to do an hour really seems like a long time as well, to just be sitting in silence. I mean, you and I have been talking now for 46 minutes. If I had to be silent for that amount of time, it could be so easy to be frustrated in that silence, especially if nothing really is happening.
So it doesn't even have to be, I don't believe that we physically have to sit like a Buddha and try and silence the mind. I think it's just making time for yourself, like you're your own best friend, and
Mm.
saying, hey, you, let's spend an hour together. And let's, maybe as a dancer, I like to stretch. So, you know, you can do non-violent type of exercise. You can, I prefer movement, you know, as a dancer as well. So maybe do yoga type movements, do rocking movements, or put music on, just dance, but be in silence. And or you know, I think painters, artists, you know, can just sit and draw. If you can just, or garden and weed, more like even the mundane
Sorry.
things like washing dishes. I love washing dishes with my
Oh,
hands in warm water, and my mind just
sorry,
floats
sorry.
away.
I just clicked on a button that said view this on Facebook, and then Facebook came up, and it lags a bit, so I was hearing like old conversation while you were talking. That was ridiculous. But while that happened, I could see people's posts. So I don't know if that's maybe the better way to do this in the future. And
Yes.
I'm sorry for interrupting you that way. It was a big mess, but I'm learning how this thing works. So.
So did you see any comments or any questions?
I did. I saw. Oh my god, it's so confusing because now there is Mary Dominguez saying hi Phil. I feel you. Me too. Okay. Don't know what she was referring to. Michael Lambrecht saying nice endorphins, subconscious acknowledgement. You have great power in your mind. And then I see my brother also saying, so great you are doing this, bro. The Joe Rogan of the Key family. Yeah, anyway. So there's a few comments, but that's awesome,
Awesome.
guys. Thanks for commenting.
You know what I wanted to say about love, and there were three chapters in my book about love.
Yes.
When you said in your relationship you used to have blow-ups because your partner didn't meet your expectations, you see, that's not unconditional love, because unconditional love means I am whole and I'm comfortable in my skin, and I don't need to make any apologies, and I don't need to fit in with your way. I can just be naturally who I am. And because I'm whole and content, and I'm choosing to be a co-journeyer in with you in your, and we have this relationship, a friendship, I am completely comfortable in you being who you are. And so there's nothing that you can do. And I see it with parents with children. Children have to fulfill their unexpected, unfulfilled dreams from their past. And they put all those expectations on their children, which is so unfair. And people do it on their partners and their husbands and wives. And they want that person to put on this act and be, I don't know what, a carbon copy of Jesus. They must be perfect.
Yeah.
And we always want our partners to be the person we're incapable of being. Wouldn't you say? They
Yes.
must be perfect, but we're not. And I just have to say that I call it vampire love. Romantic love is vampire love. It is so needy. It is so demanding. It's what am I getting out of this, and what are you doing for me? It's give, and take. It's not about. It's not open-hearted giving and sharing and come be in this pot and you can have as much of me as you love because I've got overflowing amounts to give away. It's never going to run out. It's needy and clingy. And so, yeah, I think we seek for partnership, but we become instantly codependent and then we suffocate one another. And it's because it's vampire love. We strangle each other until we want to run and drop and run away, and that's not, unfortunately, but that's not unconditional love.
I used to see in my ex, my last relationship, that she saw something in me that she almost wished that she had, and I saw something in her that I wished that I could have. So she saw in me this creative guy. She'd come over and I'd play the piano and I'd make up songs and I'd make up whatever, make her laugh, entertain, go deep, make up songs as I go. And she was like, it's incredible that you can do that. I really envy your creativity. And then when I learned about her, she had this amazing ability to have everything organized and structured in her life, which is something I've never had. So if you looked at her computer, there were files and folders and everything was neat and organized. And if I'd ask her, where's this? She would just click and it would be there. And I'd be like, how the hell do you do that? So I had this fantasy, and she actually mentioned it to me. She was like, let's start a project. We'll call it the Lighthouse Project. Phil will entertain and speak and make music and all this, and she'll film it and make it something awesome and put a website together and do all this stuff. And it was like this little project that we thought would be so awesome to have.
Yeah.
But nothing ever happened of it, and it was just talk, and I don't know, it just never happened. Then I started becoming irritated and resentful and being like, you said you're going to do this thing, and we both sort of agreed that we would do this together, and like nothing ever happens. And then I'd get frustrated and irritated. But it's that same thing, isn't it? It's me sucking, like projecting and saying, I can't do it on my own because I'm not good enough, but you can help me get there. And if you don't help me get there, I'm going to be pissed off with you. And it would obviously go both ways, It's that vampire thing.
You vampire, you. You see.
Give me some of your blood.
Yeah, but we're all lazy. We are all lazy. And we all sort of, I think, no, I shouldn't say we. I should say I'm lazy and I'm guilty of doing the same sort of thing,
I'm not.
I find you get into a relationship like I did, and I'll go, oh my word, this guy I'm with, he's so fun and entertaining and all the rest. And so I just let go of all my friends and we just go and party with his friends all the time. And it's like just so easy, just slot in. But we all have a duty to keep our lives alive and also not always expect the other person to be the entertainer. What about keeping things alive in our lives? And it's you could say the same with health. I was married to a man who almost doubled his weight in the time I was married to him. And,
Sure.
Just because you're with somebody now, do you let everything slide? And do you not care anymore because you've made the catch or whatever? We have a duty to ourselves to look after our health, to look after our self-love, to look after our minds, to choose positive thoughts, to go to the gym, to whatever we do, we must look after. We are all on solo journeys. And I think that's an important thing too, to recognize that we cannot, none of us cannot put all of our baggage in someone else's little ship and sail with them, because we came into this world alone and we die alone. And the journey in between is lots of interesting deviations and lots of lovely little journeys down different paths with different people and friends and lovers and whatever else. But ultimately, each one of us is on a solo journey. And at the end of it, we're accountable for our own happiness and our experiences. And there should be no guilt. You know?
It's something that you said that resonates with me, because I would find myself, I moved in with her, I moved into her house, and then I'd just be like, oh, I don't need to see my friends, and I don't need to see my family, and I don't need to do anything but spend time with her. And that's exactly what you were saying, right? It's like, it's so easy to just slot into that person's life and then forget everything else that you actually committed to, and you've been committed to for however long it is. But now all of a sudden you found the right person. It's like nothing else matters. Drop everything else.
I think that, yeah, and I think that as a person, I've deepened so much in the last, say, 6 to 8 months, because I live on my own, and suddenly I have so many amazing, amazing girlfriends, and this is also for me interesting, because in my youth, up until my 40s, women were very threatened by me. So I was quite a good looker in my youth, and very sexy, and so women used to feel terribly threatened by me, and then men would flirt with me. So I actually didn't. I didn't engage with people. I would flirt and joke and laugh, but run away. And so now that I'm on my own for the first time in a long stretch of time, my roots are deepening, and I'm having meaningful, amazing relationships. I have the sisterhood of amazing women in my life, and all different ages. Some of them 15 years younger, but it's quite amazing. And I'm connecting with people from a root level who are also passionate about growing things, about greening our earth. And yeah,
I'm hearing what you're saying, because I feel the same. I feel like a lot of women I meet, I don't know if it's true or not, but I'll get this thing in my head where I'll say, okay, like they're attracted to me, and that's why we are friends now, and they want more than I want in this relationship. They want something sexual or something like that, and I don't even know if that's true. It's maybe just something that is in my head, and I wouldn't really know right now where that came from. But I'm sure that a lot of people feel that, and when I do feel that, it stops me from having deep relationships with those people, because I'm instantly on the back foot going, what do they want from this? And maybe they don't even want something else from it.
but it's vampire love, don't you think? I think we should unpack this more, because I think that why are people now drawn magnetically from the physical aspect? Is that perhaps, did you ever read that book, The 5 Languages of Love?
Yes.
Did you ever read that book?
Yeah, it's what is it? Touch and gifts and
yeah, gifts was one of them. Words of affirmation, spending time, doing deeds of service for someone, and then the physical touch. So those 5 languages. But I don't know. So I know that my top love language is physical touch. So and my lowest order of things is gifts. Just don't buy me presents. I hate presents. If you buy me a present, it shows me you don't love me, because you didn't spend time, you didn't connect, you didn't even, you just took money and bought a gift. It's just like, oh, that is the worst thing you could do. So, for me, friends, no, don't buy me a gift. Come and sit and have lunch or tea with me. Come and just connect, just chill and shoot the breeze. But yeah.
Become similar to you in that way.
And so maybe, people connect on different levels, but again, I think that my relationships have always been formed because of physicality, because that's is it my weak spot? Is it my addiction? Is it, I don't know, I will fall easily for someone because just physically it feels intense and it feels right. Then I'll land up with a guy and go, geez, like, I don't know if I really even like anything about this person except the sex, does it really? So yeah, I think that it's really good for me to have time out and be on my own because, I don't think that that's a reason to connect because again, it's highlighting that there's something lacking within myself. Do I need to fulfill something about myself? Do I need to be paired up with someone else to complete me? No, I don't. I'm complete. And no, I don't know. Am I going down the wrong path here? I just
No, I mean, I feel similar. Whenever I've had a relationship, that's what brings us together. What magnetizes us is that physical connection, and then from there it goes wherever it goes. But there's almost, and I think there's so much more to just the physicalness because there's something that attracts your chemistry to their chemistry. I think it's when we just say physical, it's more than just physical. It's emotional as well, and it's mental, and it's physical. It's like so much happens in that moment. It's almost like magical, maybe is a better word. But I think there's definitely like a spark. There's a spark that's very noticeable with certain people that you come in contact with. And then from there, sort
I
of,
was listening to something on, somebody posted on my Facebook the other day because I said, I've forgotten, what is the purpose of life? And an interesting conversation began. And then somebody posted this one motivational speaker or spiritual writer speaker, Spiro,
okay,
and I listened to him. Do you know him?
uh,
Okay. He was
I'll look him up.
basically saying that our pursuit is happiness.
Yeah,
And he drew a parallel. He said, some people find it by going and sleeping with prostitutes or having sex. In that moment when they orgasm, there is spirituality. There is you leave your body and you're in that euphoria. Some people do it by climbing Everest or free climbing. They are risking their lives in that moment when they actually could die, and they are connecting in pure spirit. And some people find it by going to church or whichever religion they follow and find that spirituality. And it's that euphoria that we seek. And isn't that really what self-love is? It's like happiness in a contentment, bliss. It's not contentment, it's this bliss feeling. And I think that is the addiction that we all strive for and we seek. That completion of feeling so magnetized and alive that every sense of ours is like,
and I would call that the wow effect. Something
the
that makes you
wild
go,
thing.
wow, wow,
Wow.
the wow
Yeah.
effect. I've always felt like that's something that I enjoy. I want to wow. I don't want to sit in solitude and have no one around me and have a boring book in front of me. I want to go wow.
So
So,
some
like you
people will
say,
do mushrooms for that, and some people will
yes,
do LSD.
yes. And some people will find it an orgasm, and some people will go on a motorbike and drive 180 kilometers an hour and just be like,
Yeehaw! Yes.
yo, fucking rad. And other guys will go to gym and bench like 120 kilograms and be like, yeah, pushing that
Yeah.
that
Or
weight,
the roller coaster.
roller
The big
coaster.
dipper. Yeah.
Exactly. But now, I mean, I'm sure if we had a conversation with Eckhart Tolle about that, he'd be like, you need to be more equanimous with your mind or something very wise.
But you see, in
Um,
that moment where you go, holy shit, I don't know if I'm going to, it's
yeah,
like, you're cycling on the edge of the road, on the verge, and You are so in the now. You cannot be thinking while you are almost on the cliff and about to fall to your death. You do not think about, oh, I have this regret about my best friend slept with my heir.
That's gone.
And you're not worrying about, am I going to be a success in my life in the future and make my parents proud? All you are going is,
Yeah.
you see, you're verging on seeing the white light.
It's so interesting because there's other things, like I'm sure when you dance, you can get into that space as well. I know when I
Yes.
play piano, or actually when I play with live music with friends or with other musicians, and there's certain times where there's a magical moment that happens where we'll all be playing different instruments and we won't be connecting, and I'll be pissed off with this guy because he's giving me a funny look, and this guy's smoking and I'm like, I don't like smoke. But then after a certain amount of time, something will happen where we'll all be on the same wavelength, and there's no more talking, there's no more judgment. We're just flowing. And that can happen for 10 minutes, that can happen for half an hour or 30 seconds. But while that's happening, there's a groove and everyone's on the same page. And I guess it's also similar in conversation. You and I can be chatting, I can be so in the conversation and loving it and being like, wow, this is so cool. Or I can be like, how many people are viewing this? Or what's the time? Or, so it's almost like when something catches your attention, whatever that may be, you're in the moment, right?
Like hitting the tuning fork. I remember reading somewhere that if you hit C on a piano, and you're in a shop with all these instruments, all the other pianos start humming, resounding on C.
Resonance.
Resonance. And so I've done that exercise in workshops where I've said to people, let's see if we can open that heart resonance, and the sound is ah. And so I invite everyone to stand in circle, and we sing ah, but I tell everyone, you find your pitch, so don't copy the person next to you. You might be middle C or an octave higher or lower or D or E, whatever. You are, and don't wait for the person to breathe so that you all start at the same time. It must all happen in between.
Yeah.
Oh my word. I did my best session I ever did with that was with the Soweto Gardening Club. And we had the taxi drivers and all the ladies and everyone in the group, and
cool.
There were no inhibitions, and I didn't know how to stop it because it felt like we were in a choir. It could have been the Soweto choir. I felt like I levitated, and it was quite unbelievable, the energy that was created in that room. I didn't know how to stop because they were so unabashedful. Nobody was like, I stopped singing. They didn't stop. When you do it with white people, the minute you stop as facilitator, everyone's gone, stop. Just and the energy in the room afterwards. And I remember my niece was taking photos of that session, and she just said, "Oh my word!" Yeah. She was in the center of that circle with all of this energy going. She spoke about it afterwards like it was this most incredible thing that happened. But afterwards, when we asked people to share, it was like, you are so connected. We are all brothers and sisters. We are one love. We are one universal
and that's
energy.
The same thing I'm talking about when a bunch of musicians, I mean, this used to happen quite often when I was in a band, and we'd all get together and we'd do stuff like that. Like we'd play instruments and we'd all be on the same page, and then one of us would just start going, ooh, and another one would harmonize with him and go, ooh, and then you could feel that this person's harmonizing with my voice, and it's like in that perfect tone, and they're resonating. And as soon as that happens, it's like, wow, what is actually going on around me? And then say the bass guitar now starts hitting a similar note or something, and it can just spiral. It can just spiral into awesomeness. And I love that. And I love the wow effect. And I remember I once did a workshop where they were like, draw your soul, a soul painting or something. So what I drew was a big wave crashing. Like I've always had this fascination of massive waves, like waves in Hawaii that these crazy oaks surf. And that point of when the wave's about to crash and it's at its like maximum amount of pressure and strength, and just before it hits, there's like that's like the vortex of the wave, of that wow effect. And I guess in some ways, for me, that's something that I look for in life. So I look for these moments where we can connect, and I look for moments where we can sing and where there's wowness. But the opposite is also true. Because I'm looking for that, if it doesn't happen, I can feel that like, oh, everything's dull, everything's gray, everything's boring. And I think often the opposite exists in everything in life. So if you're an adrenaline junkie constantly looking for this like extreme fun, when it's not there, you can sit back and be like, oh, fuck, what a shit day. There's no fun here.
Yeah.
There's no wow effect.
Yeah, that's true. If your wave is big like this, then the troughs are going to be huge, and your tsunamis, your peaks are going to be great. And then if you live on a more moderate, like close to the flat line, then it's going to be pretty consistent. But I think that there could be a question there as to why would we seek these incredible highs? Why do we want these? Is that an addiction? Is that addiction because I am feeling lacking, because I don't feel that I'm enough? Am I not feeling like everything in my life, everything that I've been gifted with, the talents that I have, the body that I have, the home that I have, whatever I have is not enough?
Yeah.
It's not enough to be able to just sit quietly here and sit, or just read a normal book, or eat a normal meal. I need something spectacular. I need something very big and wow. And again, maybe that's creating an expectation out of life, which is going to set us up for disappointment. So if you don't have expectations, you can never be disappointed.
That's true. How are you doing for time, by the way?
Oh, I never watch the time. So, but if you want to sign out, that's great. If you want to see if there's anyone asking anything or saying what a lot of codswallop you guys are talking about, let's check in and see.
My brother is saying, love you, bro. Love you too, man. Rupert Spira is the guy that you were talking about.
That's it.
Yeah. So David, my brother, just posted that.
Oh,
another lady,
Renee
Lawson, said, pure presence, not real connection without. There's no intimacy, without vulnerability.
There's no NTC.
No, I guess intimacy without vulnerability. Letting go, acceptance.
Oh, is that what you said?
Yeah, there's no intimacy without vulnerability.
Yeah, you've got to be real.
Can I play you a song on the guitar?
I'd love you to play a song for us. I'd love that. Yes.
Cool.
I was voyeuristically listening to you singing and strutting earlier. And then I felt very embarrassed, because if you didn't know I was watching, I didn't want to watch without you saying I could.
So this is something I really enjoy. So I wrote the song with the intention of creating a space for other people to jam with me, because that I find is one of my most it's where I feel most connected and where I enjoy music the most. It frustrates me when I'm playing with other people who just want to be heard, and it's all about them, and it's just their voice, and they almost like dominate, and they don't give space for others to contribute. So I guess I've just been really recently interested in writing music that doesn't have words, but it's just something that whether you want to sing to it, you can, or if you got a piano, you could play to it, or whatever instrument you have. It's almost like a canvas that you could add on to.
Yeah. I like that. That I could dance to.
Sure. Can you hear that?
Yes.
All right, cool. Song doesn't have a name, but just enjoy. Just do whatever you feel like doing to it. Yeah, it's that sort of thing, and it's the sort of song that would just carry on, and you could add whatever you wanted to it as you please, you know.
I would love to be able to play an instrument, but I'm pretty useless. As a kid, my mom wanted me to play piano, and I just wanted to dance. And dancing is my instrument, so yeah.
Awesome.
I remember going to a drumming evening, and apparently they did trance dances. They had trance dances some of the time. So I said, I'm desperate to dance, and I love drums. I want to dance. I actually wanted to dance around the fire. Um, and they said, well, we're not having the trance dances this time, but yeah, you're welcome to dance if you'd like to. And I felt I so needed to dance. So I drummed for an hour. And then after that, they said, right, we're handing out tambourines and other maracases and whatever. And I grabbed a maracas, and I was the only person dancing in a room of 40 people drumming. And I danced into a trance. I danced for an hour until I dropped.
Wow. Wow.
And I don't know, that wow feeling of euphoria, I went to another plane. I have danced many times and I just think I'm in heaven.
Wow, that sounds cool.
So, and it was interesting afterwards when we had a feedback session with the musicians, and they all said how the dancing changed the dynamics, because I would pick up on a rhythm. So, they would set a da 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 da, whatever, and I'd pick up the da 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 or whatever. And the next thing they would be drumming that stronger beat, like the first beat. And then I would pick up a smaller thing, and then I would be doing, fast time. And then the drumming would change, depending whatever rhythm I adopted within, the sub rhythms.
It's a
It was
dance.
quite incredible. So I realized the power in how I could change the music from how I interpreted the dance. And it was so symbiotic. It was an incredible experience.
Wow.
So I think
that's the thing, right? That's the communication. It's like you're communicating beyond the dance. The dance is helping you to communicate with the musicians, and then they're communicating back. So there's that feeling of connection, right? I guess, connection.
Yeah, it was wild and unplugged. It's like what you have experienced. I did using my body as the instrument. I contributed to the whole, and it was quite incredible how we led one another, and it was this push me, pull you. I don't know. It was quite illuminating, and it was quite a highlight of my life, I must say. And I'd taken my oldest son with me. He was drumming, and I thought, oh my God, I hope I'm not making him embarrassed, because he he's in his like mid-20s and he's drumming there, and his wild mother is just dancing like a wild thing. But
Fantastic.
yeah, it was such a freedom.
How old are you,
Yeah.
if you don't mind asking?
How old am I?
Yeah.
57.
No ways, really.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. You seem younger. You've got a, I don't know, vibrance, energy. You've got lots of energy.
What is age? Age
Yeah.
is a linear thing that, yes, our bodies progressively get worse, but actually the spirit doesn't change. I remember my late gran, she had said some wise things to me. There were a few profound things, but one
Mm,
of the things I remember her saying is, as you get older, you're still the same person inside that wrinkly body. You
mm,
know, you haven't changed. The world perceives you as old or whatever, or
mm.
less valuable. And that's a sadness, actually, because a lot of richness comes from wiser, maturer, older sages. And it's quite a sadness that in our culture, we give all the glory to the youthful, the young, wrinkle free, perfect complexions, perfect figures, or whatever. And there's a danger in that, though, because
Mm,
when you revere youth, then you've got a hell of a ride ahead of you as you get older,
mm.
of self-loathing and hatred and
Yeah,
Botox and surgeries and
yeah.
hair implants and whatever else as you go through your
But also, it's something that we've lost in this. I think in society is like we don't have these elders that we can really go to for advice or for help or for guidance. It's almost just like we just go to the youth and go to the internet and we go to people that are our age that we connect with. But that sense of community sort of lost. Where I guess in a community it used to be like we'd go out and I don't really know, but I imagine there'd be, you know, the kids, the middle aged, and the elders all in one space, and we could all communicate and be together. Whereas it's sort of kids are at school with kids, then adults go to work with adults, and then the elderly retire in retirement homes. It's like everyone's separated into their own little boxes. We're boxing too much of society. We need to unbox.
It is. It's a great sadness. And another friend of mine, author of Future Proof Your Child, she's an educational or specialist and a toy specialist. She's co-written many, many books, futurist type books. And I remember reading one of her books, and she just said that in the old days, children would gather around their grandparents and listen to their
Mm,
stories under a tree. And
cool.
now grandparents are going to the 4-year-old and saying, "Dearie, how do you work this thing, this cell
Mm,
phone? How do I?" Because we're now in a computer technological age, and old
yeah.
people are dinosaurs who don't know how any of the systems work, and
Sure.
they've been shelved and overlooked as dumb, stupid. You don't understand. You don't get it. Your history. Just go and veg in that box called a retirement home. And it's actually a sadness. We've lost so much depth in our society.
Mm,
Um, we've lost community,
yeah.
and yeah, and even our rural communities are losing it because they are revering Western man's thinking and Western man's growth of capital and build another shopping center and do away with, little small markets and the small man. And
Uh, I'm so
we've
tired of
lost,
it, to be honest. It's one of the reasons I'm very happy to leave Johannesburg because wherever I go, there's just shopping center after shopping center, and it's so ridiculous now. It actually makes me feel a little bit ill. But I wanted to say I'm part of a group called the Mankind Project, which I think you know of.
yes,
Um,
no, tell me a bit more about that. I don't know. I
so the
think I've
Mankind
heard
Project,
something about it.
it's like basically a weekly meetup for men.
And
Um,
do women also do it? They also have a women's only, do they?
I believe there is something like that, but I don't know too much about
I
it.
think I remember Richard Higgins doing this. And
Okay.
okay, I'm not
But
sure if it's
anyway,
the same.
it's a weekly meetup. We'll get together and we'll just chat with other men, and it's all different ages. Probably ranging from about 18 to like 70 odd. And as part of one of the things you have to do before you get initiated as a Mankind Project man, you have to do the weekend, which is quite an intense weekend of really looking at yourself and all your shadow and your demons and all your shit and getting it all out and being vulnerable. Um, but one of the things they do is that there are elders who have a specific job. They're either the storytellers, or they give a blessing, they pass a blessing on to you, or they do smudge sticking, or they work in the sweat lodge, but they've got their positions, and it's quite sacred, and it's quite a ritual that they'll get involved in. And it's something that's so awesome and so beautiful, and something I don't see in everyday society. You don't see old men giving a blessing or a ritual. And whenever it happens, it's such an incredible thing to witness, to feel like there's an older guy or elderly man giving me a blessing, as opposed to, someone my age giving me a blessing. It doesn't feel the same. It's like, who are you? Like, bless yourself. But where there's I don't know, I guess this I appreciate.
I think that's so valuable. It is what Richard Higgins was doing, because I remember him saying that the women were coming back from their weekend away where they'd done this bonding and they'd done all that self stuff and some kind of graduation, and they were meeting their family back or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds amazing. And I
Yeah.
think there's a lot of wisdom that comes. I think in cultural rural communities, there's a lot of breaking away where the men do men things, the women do women things. There's rites of passage,
Mm,
when young men come of age and young women come of age,
mm,
that their elders form a circle around them
mm.
and prepare them for what is to come for adulthood, and they school them, and then they go out into the bush or go out alone. That I was thinking about earlier when you said, how do you teach people to self-love? And I thought every single one of us should have to go, I don't know, with a compass, with a backpack, and sleep under the stars for a week and live on your own and brave it out there and face your demons and face yourself.
Yeah.
And I think, if every one of us had that kind of experience, I think it would be awesome. But I also think sisters with sisters and brothers with brothers, I think it's very, it's powerful stuff. And
Powerful, and it's
I think
happening.
we
Yeah.
all need, hey?
It's happening around the world. There's a lot of men's groups and women's circles, and that is happening. So I'm glad that it's happening.
Yeah, and I think that men in a men's space will probably feel a lot less vulnerable to embrace their feminine side, let's say, because I think that women have stepped into men's shoes in many areas, in careers and everything, and women have become more and more masculine and dominant, and men have been pushed aside with this resurgence of women coming into their power. And I
Mm.
think that also our upbringing, you mentioned to me that your upbringing, you weren't really encouraged to show emotion, and it's a sadness in maybe our South African um, culture that men still are not comfortable crying and allowing themselves to feel what they consider girly or feminine. And I think that in a male space where it's safe and you're sharing with other men, it's probably a space where you can cry in front of other men and you can reach out and
And it's liberating when it does happen. When you're with a group of men, and you can feel the tension when there's so much going on, but no one's expressing it. And I'll feel this when I'm doing a meeting with MKP, with Mankind Project, but all of a sudden someone will either like burst out crying or like express rage, like scream. And whenever that sort of thing happens, I'm just like, oh, thank God, it's so awesome. And it's not like a fear. It's not like, oh, he's raging. Oh my God, I'm scared of this guy. It's more like, he's letting steam out because he's kept whatever is going on in for so fucking long. And he's had no one to express it to. And now all of a sudden it's coming out, like a kettle boiling. And it's so good. I think, I don't know, I guess just a lot of men in general will keep things in. It's just how men have been for so long. So to see that happen is awesome.
So it's giving you permission, but it's almost sounding like that guy letting off the pressure release valve means it's letting off pressure for you and everyone else at the same time.
Yeah.
It's like, whoo.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you can see when he's doing it, there's anxiety, and it's like, oh my God, what are people going to think of me? Because now I'm like really being vulnerable and really showing what's going on inside. But like you say, it's like it's the resonance. When you play C on the guitar, if there's another guitar, that C is going to resonate. And if he's expressing all of this anger and it's coming out, everyone else that's been hiding their anger, they can let their steam go a little bit as well. It's just that resonance thing.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
So it's given everyone else permission to be real. I know I was sharing in a group and I just burst out crying recently, and afterwards everyone just opened up to me and went, your honesty and your realness is like so, it softens you and it draws other people to you, because now people are no longer threatened. You've let down all your guards, all your stage persona or your masks, and you've just gone, I am nothing. I am humble.
Yeah.
This is just how I'm feeling today. I'm feeling completely depressed or lonely
okay,
or
right?
fearful.
Yeah.
And then everyone else in the room goes, holy shit, I'm actually feeling like that too. I wouldn't have ever said that, but now I feel more comfortable.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? It's crazy how we put on this mask for defense, to feel safe, because we're actually just so scared to reveal who we are. And I guess it's part of the reason I've started doing this live conversation live on Facebook, because it's scary for me, and it's honest and it's raw, and it's like I just want to be able to show myself to the world and stop trying to hide behind some sort of persona. I think I almost did hide behind the persona of being a kids coach for so long. I mean, I still can coach kids, but it's not like I'm just a kids coach and speak to me and then I'll give you advice on your kids. And it's like, I'm so much more than that, but it's scary for me to show it to the world. So I'm challenging myself to just be like, you know what? I'm going to do something live on Facebook. And the next thing that scares the shit out of me that I really want to do, and I'm thinking of challenging myself to do it. Notice I'm thinking of challenging myself. I haven't committed yet, but it's to do stand-up comedy. And I was thinking,
you can script that, so it doesn't have to be completely off the cuff. You can do that. I said you can practice and rehearse. I'm sure a lot of those comedians have rehearsed and rehearsed and rehearsed until they have such a huge vocabulary to draw from that they can just speak, because they just have a repertoire of jokes. And
for sure. But I was in Melville the other day. I'm doing all different things with my time now. I'll just find events on Facebook and I'll go to them randomly on my own and just meet people, and I'm enjoying doing that. So I went to Melville the other day and I just saw there's a stand-up comedy bar, and it's like there's open nights on Thursdays, and I looked inside and I just like almost dropped with anxiety. I was like, imagine me standing there trying to be funny and there's a crowd of people going, this oak is not funny. Like, boo, get off the stage. Like, I guess that's one of my biggest fears. So I've been recently reading this book called Playing Big by Tara Moore. And she's saying it's something called a leap. Find that thing that you're scared of and take a leap and go and do it. So I'm thinking that might be something really interesting. Just phoning this comedy club up and saying, hey, whether I'm a comedian or not, I'm a stand-up comedian, or I just want to try it out and give me some space, putting it in my diary and going, whoop, it's done. I'm going to go
Well,
do
then
it.
you're going to get your wow, because that's the point, that fear, when you step through the fear, it's like, that's hitting the speed of light, or Alice stepping through the looking glass, or defying death as you skyrocket and bungee jump off a... That's the feeling of fear. Do you know that on the list of human fears, the things that terrify humanity the most, the top fear of humanity before dying, fear of death, is public speaking. That is the number one documented fear. The thing that scares the shit out of people is standing up in front of a group. So
and here we are live.
Yeah.
We started doing it. You teach crowds of people, so do I. And every time I do it, I get scared. But I've got bigger fears, and I think to be a stand-up comedian for me is similar, but for some reason it's more scary because there's almost more of a chance of being humiliated. You know, like people easily shout back at a stand-up comedian and say, "Oh, you're a doer, or you're an idiot." But if you're up there like doing, I don't know, personal development, I guess there's less of a chance of it happening. So maybe that's why the fear's there.
I don't know. I can remember starting out as a... I think it's maybe something in our personalities that we do things that put ourselves out there that we're going to be rated or criticized, because I was a ballet dancer and used to get the critics who'd come and then slam you. And then I was before a personal trainer, I was a aerobic instructor. And I remember the first gigs I did at the gyms, when you're new and people don't want to give you a chance because you're a novice, and they would just walk out of your class, and it was devastating. You know, you've got a class of 60 and you're just doing your warm-up routine and everything, and then people just get up and they walk out. It's like, oh my word, I just want to bury my head in the sand. I just want to run away. And you have to put on that brave face and just keep going. Rah, rah, rah. And so I don't know, that there are those sayings that say, you know, people who act all courageous or whatever. Courage is not about not having fear. It's acting despite your fear. And it's showing up and doing whatever it is that you feel passionate about. And I think you've got to do it. you have a duty to yourself.
You do that fears you, that you're scared of, and that you can take a leap in.
Say that again.
What is something that scares you that you could do that would be a leap, like taking a leap of faith? Like my stand-up comedy thing scares the shit out of me, so I'm thinking it's something that I could do. What's something for you?
I think it's always been a thing. I can talk to a crowd if you pull the crowd, but I can't pull the crowd myself. So for me to write on Facebook, I'm having a talk on forgiveness on the 29th of July. Come and support me. It's like, oh. But if I have a friend who says, I have 40 friends who are all coming and they'll be at my house and they want to hear you talk, I can go there and talk. But it's, I have a serious fear and self-doubt of selling myself. And I know I set up my whole website. I tried to rename forgiveness under love, happiness. I'm a happiness guru. I went the whole motions of it. I'm going to do live webinars and I'm going to coach people and everything. But I have this absolute, what is it? Fear of rejection, or it's that same rejection. You fear going there and everybody like laughs at you or rebukes you, or
it's like for me it's a fear of being humiliated.
So, and if we unpack that, what is the worst that can come from? Well, I mean, I can't start because no one's going to come. That's cynicism. No one's going to show up. I don't know. But the humiliation. So it falls back on, I need to be approved of by other people. I need them. I need others to approve of me in order for me to approve of myself. So then there's something lacking in my self-esteem.
But I think the fear is I don't want to be humiliated more than I need to be approved of. You know what I mean? If people like don't approve of me, it's okay. But if it's humiliation, it's more scary. If it's like people going, "Yo, this guy is such an idiot," or "This guy is."
So what is it to be humiliated? What is being humiliated?
It's like being put down in public in front of a lot of people. Yeah.
And if you are being completely vulnerable and open and okay with just being an open canvas and just expressing, what is threatened? What can be hurt, or what can be crushed? I'm trying to unpack it because
That's cool.
uh,
I guess my reputation, my dignity.
so those are all self-imposed expectations of I have this mask that I have to wear. I have this image that I have to project. I have this level of.
Yeah, it's almost
So
like
the
I
only
need.
thing that can get hurt is your ego, right?
I guess so. Yeah.
So we have such a confusing life because our pursuit is inner happiness, self-love, which is spiritual oneness. But what sits just beneath that is ego. And ego is how we spend 99% of our lives in pursuit of stuff, creating stuff, hoarding and having stuff, taking ownership of other people's stuff, codependence, and it's all ego. And our physical body, and falling in love with our body and other people's bodies, and coveting what other people's got, and youthfulness and what we no longer have and we did have. It's all ego. And
It is. It is. I mean, how
so
often do
it's,
people, walk around with their chests puffed up because that's the image they're trying to project, that they're big and scary? Or how often do people put on makeup so that they can project this image of youthfulness and beauty? And how often do people, I don't know, wear certain clothing to show off their favorite part of their body, which might be, say, their legs, so that they can look a certain way? It's like everywhere.
I kind of tried to unpack it once, like how do I discern what is this unconditional love? And I think that when we were born trying to fulfill or find unconditional love. And our first relationship is with our mother, the first person we bond with. And then somewhere along the line, we get introduced to the other siblings, and there's favoritism, and there's this and there's that. And we do things that we get punished for and put in the naughty corner. And we soon start to realize you can get a lollipop if you're good girl and you behave like this. But if you're bad, you're going to be punished and you're going to be, put in the naughty corner. And then so you start quickly learning that the love that we get from our mothers is not unconditional, it's conditional love. And then we might run to the other parent, another parent if it's there, or hasn't got divorced or whatever. We might play you off between the two parents, and then you become the ping pong ball in the courts, and you very quickly learn that parent too, it's conditional love, Are you mommy's girl or daddy's girl? And you can manipulate. And so then you go to school, and then you have little friends and teachers have teacher pets and favorite pupils and not favorite. And And then you start competing in sports, and your parents are like vying, my child's cleverer, my child's better on the sports field, and all these signals are going on, and you're just wanting love. And then for the first time you fall in love. You think it's love, and you're so in love until your heart gets broken and it's all out of love. You realize that wasn't love either. And you keep searching and searching, and you're searching for this unconditional love until one day you are so destitute and desperate, you cry out, God, where are you, love? Where are you? And then you discover spirit, and then you realize that spirit is here within you, and it brings you back here. So the search has been out, searching everywhere but here, and the search brings you back home. Because everyone, I mean, I remember my late mother saying, my two daughters were a great disappointment to me. You know, the damnedest things that our parents say, and I'm a parent too now, so I'm trying to be very careful what I say. I don't want to put damage in my two sons' minds. I don't want them to have to be in therapy at the age of 30 or 40 to undo all the terrible, unkind things and the unconscious things I said and did. But we are all human, and we're all doing the best job we know how to do. But so we are all in pursuit. And where we are all in pursuit of one thing: unconditional love.
And where is it?
Yeah, it's inside of us. And I think that we need to stop poisoning ourselves with negativity, and we need to stop pointing the finger at others, and we need to just be the change, like Gandhi said. Be the change that we want to see in the world. Be the love that we want to feel in the world. Be the love. And nurture and be kind, because we deserve kindness. Be kind to ourselves and be gentle with ourselves and compassionate.
And isn't it correct in saying that when you can be that to yourself, then you will be that to your partner, to your kids, to everyone else that comes in contact with you? But if you're so hard on yourself and so mean to yourself, then it's understandable you're going to be exactly the same with the person that you're dating or the person that is your partner. If you can be that hard on yourself, you'll be probably that hard on them. But if you know how to love and nurture yourself, then you will do the same to them, right?
So often, you know, children that are bullies, and I think you're a specialist in that field. Bullies are the result of fathers that bullied. And so the pattern goes on. And children that are the result of rape often become rapists. It's a pattern that we just follow on. And I think that, our message to the world is unconditional love. And when you get to that place, when you love, and it's not being in love, romantic love. I love myself. I'm so in love. It's not vain. It's just, I am so warm and comfortable in who I am, and unashamedly who I am. I don't have to wear makeup or dye my hair. I don't have to put on an act to please you. I can show you my vulnerability. That's what self-love is. And when you get to that place, there is nothing anyone can do to you to shame you or hurt you or harm you. There's nothing anyone can do to you that you're going to ever have to forgive, because we are not God, and yet we are all part God, but we are not God. There's no hierarchy. I can't forgive you, because that puts me on a pedestal looking down at you and saying, I'm playing God now. I forgive you. I can't forgive anyone except myself. I can be that loving, self-loving to me, that I forgive myself all my unconscious actions, my unconscious thoughts. And every day we can do that cleansing within. And I suppose that's what the beauty of a quiet time or a meditation time is. A clearing, a cleansing. If a thought comes up of guilt or anger or anything, you can clear. And with this compassion and the self-love, you can forgive it and let it go and not have self-judgment. I think that's what unconditional love is. Forgiveness of self. The gift of love from yourself to yourself. The gift of love to yourself.
What does it say? Your gift?
Your gift of love to yourself.
So, well, for me, I'm feeling like it's probably getting close to the time for us to start ending. But before we go, I'd like to ask you, what can I do tonight to give myself more love?
What can you do
For myself
yourself?
tonight before I go to bed to give myself more love.
To give
More,
yourself more love.
yeah.
Forgiveness. To
Forgive
go
myself.
back and journey through all the highlights in your life up until this present point in time.
Mm.
And almost from a place of the parent you, the best version of you that you've become, that you are now. You are the best version of yourself that you have ever been, the wisest, the most mature. And to go back and forgive yourself every single action, thought, or deed that you've done that you have guilt about, or sadness, regret, anything that you wish you could undo. And just say to yourself, Phil, in that moment in time, I acted with the consciousness that I had then.
Mm.
Would I do that if I was full today, age 34? When I was 3, when I was 7, when I was 11, when I was 19, when I was 25, and you go through all those points in time and you say, but today, with the wisdom and knowledge I have today, I wouldn't act like that. So I'm not the same person that I was then. I have changed, I've evolved. And I forgive that little 3-year-old. I forgive that 19-year-old. I forgive and I love you unconditionally. I accept you and I nurture that inner small person, the younger person.
Mm.
And in that moment of pure compassion, you've entered unconditional love.
Mm.
The love that you want to seek from your God, from your Creator, from any human being that you've ever had a relationship with on planet Earth. That's all you've ever sought. To be approved of, accepted, and loved without judgment and
Beautiful.
forgiven.
Thank you. And I will do that before I go to bed tonight. That's my commitment.
Thank you. Thank you for this
Nicolette, thank you so
time.
Oh, thank you. I actually really, really enjoyed myself. And it was really good to connect with you. And hopefully, maybe we'll do it again sometime. If you're open to it, we could do another chat one day. I really enjoyed it.
Awesome. I love that.
Hmm.
Thank you. And
Thank
I wish you great success with this.
you.
And yeah, it's going to go where it goes.
It goes
So,
wherever it goes. Yeah, for sure.
yeah. Thank you for
Right.
showing up. And thank you
Thank
for
you.
doing it and making it happen.
Pleasure. My pleasure.
Cherry, bye.
All right. Bye bye.
Bye.